marketing and some tips and tricks there, and then we'll have a quick final word. Awesome. So first, introductions. Leland team. So my name is Josh Engel. I'm the head of growth at Leland and marketing, and I also have a few other people from the team here. Emma and then Erica might be joining as well, but we're the Leland team that you might see in the chat throughout the event. And then the people everybody came here for, the real experts. We have Will, Laura, and Arthur. And I just want to say I actually have done coaching sessions with both Will and Arthur. So I can personally attest, paid money out of my own pocket to get coaching from them. And they're both amazing. So highly recommend them. But wanted to let them each kind of give a quick introduction of themselves, and then we'll keep going from there. Laura, or actually Will, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll kick us off. Thanks, Josh. My name is Will Crowley, based in Denver, Colorado. Currently, I lead digital marketing at Sourcegraph. It's an AI coding company. Have been in the B2B and SaaS enterprise marketing space for a little over a decade, in the mental health space as well as mobile communications, and then did a little bit of consulting at Accenture to start my career as well, and did a master's in data analytics just because I kept seeing marketing and data bumping into one another. So happy to talk about that as well throughout the channel. And yeah, always enjoy connecting with, learning from, and supporting other marketers. So really excited to chat here. I'll kick it over to Laura.
Thanks, Will. My name is Laura Nelson. I am also based in Colorado, and my marketing experience is at mostly early stage tech companies. A little bit of background, I got an MBA at University of Michigan, Ross School of Business, to pivot into marketing from an entertainment career. And right now I have two businesses. So I coach students who are pursuing an MBA on Leland, and I also am a fractional marketing executive working with two tech companies at the moment. I'll kick it over to you, Arthur.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Arthur Balagula. I am based out of the Bay Area, San Francisco specifically. And I've been a marketer for around 10 years. I actually started out on the agency side and then transitioned into consulting for a few years. And now more recently, for the last 5 years or so, have been in product marketing. And so right now I am a PMM at Adobe. So I can definitely talk to a bunch of those different transitions from the agency world into consulting, from consulting into product marketing, and happy to share my experiences there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Great group. I have like a diversity of experience too. So yeah, this is going to be great. Oops, wrong way. Yeah, for some of the people that have joined, would love to, if you want to drop in the chat, if you can add where you're working or what are you studying, and then if you have a dream marketing role, something you're trying to move into, would love to hear that if you want to drop those. It'd help us in our conversations too. We can kind of tailor it a little bit to what people are interested in. So go ahead and add that in the chat if you want. Give people a few seconds to do that. And then as people are adding those things, just want to introduce Leland a little bit. So if you don't know yet, we're Leland, and we love doing these free events for people. You can think of Leland as the one-stop shop to your career and academic goals. A lot of people have friends or family members that can kind of help them have connections and navigate things easily. And for everybody else who want to be there and have a Leland coach and resources to help you achieve your ambitions and goals. And so we do one-on-one coaching with all these coaches here. They do one-on-one coaching. They're all excellent. We do some cohort-based classes and then free events and things like that, such as this tonight. So yeah, we've helped over 10,000 people each year get into schools and career opportunities. And this has been a awesome job, I'd say, as a marketer, because you're helping people every day. And yeah, hopefully we can help all the people on this call as well. And then, yeah, just in terms of what we offer, everything from end-to-end coaching, application strategy, thinking about your resume review, networking strategy, just kind of thinking about how you up-level as a marketer, as a employee, as a leader, That was me and Will's call today, just talking about how do I become a better marketer and build a team. And so, yeah, I think these coaches are amazing. It helps for that. Have a QR code right there if you're interested in talking to the LinkedIn team, and we can connect you to these coaches or anyone that's the best fit for you. Awesome. Okay. Now into the meat of the program, the marketing panel. We have some questions prepared, but again, feel free to ask questions in the chat. And if, at the end, if we have time, we can cover those as well. So first one that I would love to hear answer from everybody on is why did you decide to pursue marketing? And was this and what was your first role? Kind of what was your origin story, so to speak? We'll start with Laura.
Sure. I always had an interest in marketing, but started my career in the entertainment industry. As I mentioned earlier, I used the MBA as a growth opportunity for my career and identified the MBA as an opportunity to pivot into marketing. But my first role after business school was not in marketing. Nevertheless, I wound up in a marketing role eventually. And my first marketing role was as a PMM at a software company. So, I give that long-winded story of saying like there are many paths into marketing if you so desire to choose this career path.
Sorry, I was mute. Let's go to Arthur next.
Great. So I've been in marketing my whole career. And so I would say the primary reason I wanted to pursue a career in marketing is because I really enjoyed two specific things. So one is storytelling. So as a marketer, a lot of what you're doing is coming up with a narrative, a story to put out to consumers, or if you're working in B2B, to brands and businesses. And so it was the storytelling piece. And then the second piece was I really enjoyed using data to derive insights and analyze data to find interesting, kind of pull interesting insights out of data. And so those two things I was able to kind of combine in my first marketing role, which was at a small independent agency, actually. I was in New York at the time, and this agency specifically focused on entertainment and media clients primarily. And so I was working as an analyst there, basically looking at TV viewership data to understand, to help with the customers that I was working with, or the clients, understand how to best purchase media buy, so purchase ad campaigns within the most relevant TV programs, and to make sure that they're kind of reaching the most relevant target audiences. And so that was a great first step because it really allowed me to kind of dive into data analysis, getting insights from data, and also a bit of the storytelling piece as well, kind of thinking about how to position those insights in a narrative or in a way that the client would be able to actually take action from.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like the same way, my own marketing story, like I really like the creative aspect and the analytical aspect of it that are both valued. Awesome. Will, you're next.
Sure. So my path into marketing was also a little unique, as Laura mentioned. There's a lot of those stories. I started out in consulting with Accenture, doing more kind of IT and digital strategy consulting, but I ended up hanging out with a lot of friends in Chicago that were working at startups, and I just kind of started drinking the Kool-Aid of like startups and entrepreneurship, and learned about the importance of marketing at startups. And so I was able to kind of self-teach myself and kind of become a little bit of like a full stack marketer. So I started doing a lot of blogging, and I started like helping friends out with building websites, or like helping like, some family business with social media. And from doing that, I was able to kind of get into the part of Accenture, the consulting firm, that was more on the digital marketing and strategy side of things. They had acquired a large agency. So some of my client work became more marketing focused, which was great. And then on the side, I was able to just kind of sharpen those kind of skill sets a little bit with, working on some marketing projects, kind of ad hoc for a couple of clients.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to get into marketing. I think if you're sharp and willing, then there's a path to get in. Next question, maybe we'll start with Laura for this one. What strategies have worked best for you when landing your first role in marketing, and like maybe if you've helped other people, especially around networking or whatever else it might be?
Sure. As I mentioned, I was a career switcher into marketing. So it was really important for me to emphasize transferable skills into that first product marketing job. So I would say the particular skills that were important here were really understanding the product, right? Like product marketers are, communicating features and benefits each and every day, positioning and messaging the product to a target customer. And I think even more importantly, there was like obsession with the customer, right? Like really understanding, who the company was trying to sell to, what their pain points were, and how the company could solve their problems. So by like stepping into the role as part of the interview process, I was able to build confidence with the hiring team that, I could make this switch into marketing. And that's what I help candidates with, whether they're looking for a job or whether they're trying to get into business school and land a marketing role in the future. It really is just helping them connect the dots from, what they're good at and where they are today, and what that marketing career or marketing role to start out with demands.
Perfect. Yeah, Will, anything to add on kind of strategies when you're trying to land that first role?
I think a couple things just to build on that. Two that come to mind is that, really being able to identify, okay, these are specific marketing skill sets that I've acquired through my role, like whether it's product marketing, whether it's content marketing, whether it's email marketing, and really be able to show that and really kind of say like, what are those kind of skill sets, these job descriptions, these things that, marketers are looking for that can really help. I think the other thing I would say that is really helpful is connecting those efforts to a business impact, right? Like the days of marketing just kind of doing things because like they look good are gone. Like you need to be able to show that marketing can help with growth and help unlock growth. So I really help a lot of clients that are, working on resumes or pitches is that, I did this, which led to that, right? So I think if you can get in that mindset of like, hey, I created our new website, which drove, growth by 20%, right? I think that's like a really more compelling story of showing just like activity, but then activity towards impact. So I think that's just a good framework to think about of like, okay, these are the skills that I'm really passionate about, I want to learn, and then here's how it helps drive growth in the business.
Awesome. Yeah, I think like even in my own experience trying to land my first role in marketing, just like understanding the company a little bit and like having ideas and like things to suggest, I think also helps like startups, especially like showing that initiative. But all great advice. So next question we have is around networking. Did I skip one? So how did networking play a role when landing a marketing job? This could be about your marketing job or in general kind of career, what you've seen around networking and any advice on kind of how to do networking. I think people talk about networking a lot, but like, what does it actually mean to network effectively? We'll start with Arthur.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say networking is very, very important. Networking is what actually helped me land my first PMM job. And so I think there's a couple of things. So I would say the first and probably maybe most important thing is to really be targeted with your networking efforts, to really think about if you're trying to reach out, cold reach out to someone, or there's some kind of connection, why are you interested in what this person does? Is there a specific aspect about their role or company that really resonates with you? And I think that initial outreach, if it's specific and it actually calls out things that you're excited about maybe a project that they worked on, or you saw some example of their work out in the world and it resonated with you, that is so much more effective than just reaching out with a broad message saying, oh, I'm just interested in your company or your type of role and I'm looking to learn. That can work, but I think it's really about being as targeted as possible and making that initial outreach or even subsequent outreach as relevant and kind of connected to what that person actually does in their day-to-day work as possible. Because at the end of the day, we all get people reaching out on LinkedIn, on various platforms, asking for advice, for help, and it's really the ones, especially for me, when people reach out to me, it's the ones that stand out are the ones that are most targeted and most relevant to what I do, and actually shows that the person did some research about my company, my role, and what they're interested in.
Interesting, yeah, versus just the mass blast approach. Perfect. Laura, Will, any other like kind of thoughts on networking? I know this is super important in this day and age.
Yeah, I think Arthur really nailed it. Like that targeted approach and that, honing in on someone's experience or their company or a transition from A to B is super important. If someone just says, "Hey, I want to pick your brain for 15 minutes," like that's going to the bottom of the pile. Like I'm least motivated to respond to that. And I see Arthur nodding his head to that. To answer the question on this slide, though, like what do I wish someone had told me earlier in my career is that, networking is just information and advice gathering, right? Like there's no one person who has all of the answers for you. You are, collecting opinions and experiences and ultimately going to forge your own path. So just remember that, like, there's no single way to do something. And, everyone has an opinion, but it doesn't mean that, they're necessarily giving you the right advice for you and your situation.
Yeah, totally.
I think just one more thing I'd add is that, to avoid the kind of batch and blast we targeted, as folks were saying, is that if there are a couple of companies that you're really passionate about that are doing great marketing or that you've been really impressed with, I still encourage people to reach out, and even if they don't have an open role, and say, "Hey, Arthur, I saw you lead product marketing at Adobe. I'm a big fan of it. Do you mind just like if I can pick your brain about some of the stuff you're working on there?" And I think, worst thing that happens is they say no, but I think just getting on the radar of folks, even if they don't have a role around now, it's kind of even, shows your interest and shows that, you're really passionate about, hey, I'm just trying to learn, I'd love to kind of be a product marketer eventually, would love to kind of pick your brain about that. So I think I always encourage folks that even if they, don't necessarily have a role right now, but it's a leader, a thought leader, or a company that you're really passionate about, don't let that stop you from still kind of reaching out with that targeted ask of, hey, really big fan of this, and, would love to kind of learn a little bit more.
Yeah, never hurts to stroke people's ego a little bit too. And be like, you
Yeah.
have an awesome role. I'd love to learn about that. One other thing I'd add is that I found in networking is like kind of like play to your strengths and then kind of go from there. Like if you have a family member or a friend or somebody that went to the same school as you that has like anything close to that, like reach out to them first and then like try to get them to warm intro you to anybody they might know and like kind of go from there. Warm intros are definitely better and more effective. Perfect. We'll go to the next question. So one thing, and this is something Will and I were just talking about in our coaching session, is around specialization. So a lot of times people have a specialization, some people are generalists. And so the question here is, how do you navigate the decision to specialize in a particular area of marketing versus becoming a generalist? And what did you learn from your first role? And again, more context for people, like there's like SEO or paid ads or product marketing. There's a lot of different kind of disciplines within marketing. We'll start with Arthur on this one.
Sure. So, yeah, I would say that the decision to specialize kind of happened when I was in consulting for a few years. So in consulting, you're working on different types of projects every month or every few months. And so there's an opportunity to kind of expose yourself to different types of work and business challenges to solve. And what really resonated with me, that the type of work that got me really excited, was work focused on go-to-market. So I had the opportunity to work on a couple of projects that were go-to-market focused. And what I loved about it is that it took a lot of the skills that I had developed in the agency world around data analysis and storytelling, but it also combined it with the need for really being strategic and kind of thinking more high level around how to develop strategies and then actually execute on those strategies. So I loved how product marketing actually really allowed you to think end to end, from the beginning of product development all the way through to the launch and then the adoption and the retention with customers. So that end to end type of work really got me excited. And so that's actually what made me think, oh, this is an area I want to specialize in. I want to go into product marketing specifically. But I will say that, I think having seen sort of the overall progression over the last few years of marketing roles and opportunities, I feel like a lot of roles are becoming like maybe they're sort of, they come off as being very specialized on the surface, but then there's the need for a lot of generalist skills, like a lot of broad skill set. They, you know, the companies want you to be able to do brand marketing and product marketing, and they want you to be able to do growth marketing too. And so specializing is great, but it's also good, I think, to keep sort of in your skill set or toolkit these other skills that you can then leverage to say, hey, I'm not just like just a growth marketer or just a product marketer. I've also had exposure to brand marketing and other aspects of marketing as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes people hiring marketing, especially like in startups, like don't understand there's multiple types of marketing. They're just like, oh, I hire a marketer, like they can do everything. Perfect. And then Will, I know you haven't like super specialized, kind of curious like how you'd answer this question.
Yeah, I think Arthur was explaining a framework that I borrowed from someone. It's called, like, they kind of call it the T-shaped marketer, right? Of like the base of your T is maybe your expertise, whether that's product marketing or paid ads or social. But at the top of the T is like knowing how analytics work, right? Knowing how like kind of brand works, like knowing how. So I do think, like, I kind of encourage folks when I'm kind of working with them is to like think about like your T as a marketer. Like, what is that kind of maybe like that base of your T where you can go a little bit deeper, but still you're going to have to collaborate and work with others. So I think that's just like a good framework. I'll drop in the chat this article that kind of explains it better than I'm doing, but I think it's a good exercise if someone is kind of thinking about how to start their marketing career. It's like, okay, what does my T look like? Well, I'm really passionate about event marketing, but I know that I'm still going to need to be able to connect it to brand and product marketing as well, at least at like kind of a higher level layer there. So yeah, that's one thing I would just kind of think about, is like thinking about kind of your T as like a nice little, question I'll ask folks.
Awesome. Makes sense. Thanks for sharing that. Perfect. We'll go on to the next question. So, what factors influence your choice between agency, in-house, and freelance work? And just to explain this terminology a little bit, agency is like marketing agencies where they have a bunch of clients and kind of do the marketing for them. In-house is like you actually are at Adobe or whatever doing the marketing for Adobe. And then freelance is like you're a contractor. Maybe you have a bunch of different clients. I think, Laura, you've had some experience in a few of these different areas. Love to get your thoughts here.
Yeah, I'll answer the last question too, because it was kind of related to this one as well. But when I started my marketing career, I was interviewing for product, content, partnership marketing, like basically anywhere where my skills could be useful for a company. And I landed in product marketing because that just happened to be where my, skills met the opportunity. And I bring that up all to say to you guys, if you are looking for jobs, you may not get the opportunity to decide where you start in marketing, but I think the big message here is just to get your foot in the door. The job market's tough right now, but if you're truly interested in marketing, get your foot in the door in one discipline. And as Will said, just build your T from there, right? Because you won't be doing that thing forever. And in my case, I was hired as a product marketer, but quickly started doing, demand gen and all of these other things. So, the company even recognized that, hey, like we have to broaden the scope of, what my role was. So it was in-house for many years because like that's what made sense from, starting in as a product marketer, and I worked my way up to VP of marketing. Now I do have the opportunity to step back and be more selective on what I do and when. And the factors that influence that are just like the lifestyle I want to have and, the budget I'm able to create in these various projects. So yeah, for me, it's, it's a form of control on how I want to spend my time and who I want to work with that have influenced, whether I've worked in-house or more recently, which types of projects I take on.
Awesome. Yeah, Arthur, Will, any other strong feelings on this? If not, we can keep moving, but.
Yeah, I can definitely add to this. So I've done all three actually. So I started out in the agency world. So I think the agency space is really great, especially for early marketers or early career marketers, because it's very fast paced. you learn a ton, you're kind of thrown into the trenches. Like when I started out at that agency that focused on media and entertainment clients, I had no experience in how to interpret Nielsen ratings. Like it was just, I was just thrown in, and you have to learn, and you learn by doing, and that's the best way. And so it was a great way to really kind of develop those key foundational skill sets because it's fast paced. You're working with different types of clients, and you get a lot of different exposure to different business challenges. And then I actually got into product marketing through a contract role. So my first PMM role was at Meta as a contractor, and so that was, it was an interesting experience because I think I would have preferred to be kind of in-house full time, but there just wasn't an opportunity. And I think you have to be, if you're looking to go into marketing and there's only contract opportunities, I think, or freelance opportunities, it's a great way to get your foot in the door, show your work product, show that you're able to drive impact. And then a lot of times those contract roles can, or freelance roles can convert into full-time roles as well. And then now more recently, I've been what would be considered in-house. And I think the nice thing about in-house is that you really get to develop a deep expertise in the product, the market, the brand. And I think that's something that's really valuable. And it's something that you don't get to do as much in agency world, because you're kind of spread across multiple different clients with different needs and business challenges.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely some pros and cons to each. All right, we'll keep moving. So job market a little bit tough right now. For people that are looking to get that first job, looking for jobs, any like high level advice for those folks? Maybe we'll start with you, Will.
I think a couple things that come to mind would be like show not tell. Like I think if you're a content marketer or really passionate about that, like being able to just have a portfolio, and that doesn't mean it needs to be this like, massive website necessarily, but I think really like showing that work and like showing the impact that your work has done is really critical. And even if that's like kind of coming up with something that you've done some product market analysis, or going that extra step of, if you're applying to a job, say, hey, I did a little bit of competitive analysis, or I took a look at your website. Here's a couple of things I would change. I think that's the kind of thing that will help separate you from the other 50 or 100 marketers that are looking for those roles. And I think, just showing the little bit of that kind of, here's what I've done, and, here's kind of how it would help this role, I think is really important, and just kind of a nice way to set yourself apart from the pack. And then I think just, echoing Josh a little bit, finding ways to kind of work that network and kind of get that referral or that warm handoff is always, it's not going to guarantee the job, but it might help your resume get a little bit higher in that stack of 50 or 100 that the recruiter's looking. So, don't be shy about finding ways to kind of see if you can get a referral in to the company there.
Yeah, totally. Even just looking at Leland, like who we've hired, it's probably been like split 50-50, like warm referrals versus people that applied, but we get thousands of applications and only a handful of referrals. So the odds are definitely in your favor.
Yeah, you tend to prioritize those folks if you've heard good about, what they've done before. So
yeah, totally. All right, we'll keep going. I think we have a similar question to end this, so covered that again. But yeah, just knowing that you guys are in the field, are there any kind of marketing skills that are most in demand that early stage startup or early stage marketers can acquire and kind of like showcase what's like the hot thing in marketing world these days? Maybe we'll start with you, Laura.
Sure. And it may help to just put the question on the screen so people can reference what we're answering here.
How does it not show?
Oh, maybe it's just my view. Yeah, there we go. It's there.
Okay, good.
I think this relates to the question before, right? Especially, and I think either Will or Arthur brought this up earlier, like the more you can tie your impact, whether it's in the past or your potential impact to the business outcomes, the better off you will be. There are some marketing roles that are more challenging to tie to business impact, and when budgets get slim, they're the first ones to be cut. So You know, if your role is, you know, tied to demand gen, to product adoption, to things that keep money coming in the door and can, you know, tie to overall business metrics, you're in a stronger place. I think early stage marketers, right? Like it can be challenging to tie your everyday activity to dollars, but I guarantee there's a way to, you know, work internally and to, you know, work with your teammates, marketers, salespeople, like it kind of depends on your organization, to, you know, ensure that what you're doing makes a difference in the business, because ultimately you want to become, you know, the type of marketer that's indispensable to an organization.
Awesome. Any other quick thoughts, Arthur, on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think the type of skills or the skills that are most in demand really depends on the type of role. I think, you know, if you're looking to be a brand marketer, like you need to have the storytelling skills and be able to kind of package an entire brand sort of vision into something that's concise and resonates. Or if you want to be a product marketer, it's really about like cross-functional stakeholder alignment and influence. And so you have to look at the role that you're interested in and really try to think about how can you position your background and your skill set in the way that resonates with what the role is looking for. And even if it's not direct skills that are, you know, like the role is asking for a very specific skill set, you can think about what transferable skill sets do I have? What things can I kind of position in my background and my experience that are going to really spark some kind of excitement, you know, in the hiring team. And I think, you know, one of the things that I always tell people that I'm coaching is like, really make sure that your resume is tailored to the role that you're applying for. Again, if it's like a brand marketing role and you're just listing out skill sets from your past experience, or highlighting skill sets and projects that are really very like growth marketing or product marketing focused, it's just not going to sort of come together, you know, when a recruiter is looking at your resume. And so you really want to make sure that your resume is tailored and as specific as possible with the impact that you drove with regards to the types of projects that apply to that specific role.
Can I just add something real quick?
Yeah.
Just echoing what Arthur mentioned, the answer to this question really does depend. But like a nice way to kind of reverse engineer this is, say if you know that, okay, I really want to go to apply as a content marketer or brand marketer, you know, go look at some of those job descriptions that say brand marketer or content marketer. And at the bottom, it'll say required skills, right? It'll say like things that we would like to see from this role. And then that's a good way to reverse engineer of like, okay, I've got A, B, and C, or I don't have D, but here's how I can transfer it, or here's how I can go learn about it. So I think that's just like a nice little hack of like a way to say like, okay, a lot of these job descriptions are saying that they need these 5 or 6 or 7 skills. So let me find out and, you know, make sure that I've got that on my resume, or I've got a plan to see how I can make sure I'm going to acquire those skills down the road, either in my current role or kind of somewhere else.
Yeah. I think one other superpower of like early stage people, like people that just graduated or college students, is like there's certain platforms that you're probably more familiar with than your interviewer. If they're like an old person like me, like maybe they don't have a TikTok, they don't know anything like about it, but like eyeballs are there, and like you can maybe leverage that as like something unique that you bring to the table. Perfect. Go to the next one. Soft skills. Maybe we start with you, Will, on this one. What soft skills would you recommend marketers to focus on building when navigating this job search today?
I mean, Arthur kind of mentioned at the top, but I do think storytelling is so important. Not only storytelling for your company or product, but also like telling your own story as an applicant, right? Like kind of here's where I am, here's where I want to go, and here's why I'm really excited about this role. And you know, here's the kind of my tagline, here's like my little elevator pitch, and then I'm going to kind of tell you the story about how I've gotten there. And I think really being able to like succinctly tell that story in like the first 30, 40 seconds, like how many interviews start with like, tell me a little about yourself, like being able to like really answer that question really confidently is just really important. So not only like being a good storyteller as a marketer, like obviously that's kind of table stakes, but thinking about like, all right, how do I tell my own story when I'm going out to either like, you know, try to get a new role within my company or look outside. I think that's just like one thing to really think about there.
We'll keep moving. A few more questions. All right. There's another thing that Will and I were just talking about like an hour ago. But what books, courses, influencers, I'll add podcasts, newsletters on there have you learned from? Who would you recommend for someone that's interested in kind of breaking in and leveling up? We'll start with Laura on this one.
This might depend on the type of marketing that you're interested in and the type of products or services you're interested in. I'm a B2B marketer. I've been following Emily Kramer. She has some great stuff on LinkedIn and her own platform. Lenny's podcast is great for product and product marketing. But I think as a B2B marketer, I have lots to learn from B2C. We're all consumers, so I love just seeing what's out there in the world and what I can draw inspiration from.
Awesome. Arthur, any favorite books or podcasts or newsletters?
Yeah, actually, one that Laura mentioned, Lenny's podcast is amazing. Even though it's more product focused for like PMs, there's just so much insight that I've gotten from how PMs kind of think and how to work best with them from his podcast and the guests that he brings on. So definitely recommend that. It's just a very engaging podcast in general. I would also say, and this is kind of specific to product marketing because that's the space I work in, but Product Marketing Alliance is a great resource. Lots of just like foundational frameworks, things that you can use to kind of learn about how product marketing works and how to really be a successful product marketer. But again, that's the kind of specific to product marketing.
Awesome. Yeah, people also ask for the names on the chat if you want to type them in. Will, what's your favorite book, podcast, source of knowledge and truth?
Yeah, Arthur and Laura took a couple of mine. Those are good ones. I would just echo those. A couple more that come to mind. One is it's actually a daily newsletter called TLDR Marketing. They have a bunch that are kind of different groups, but that's just a good one for like kind of insights or news and marketing as well. So I do like that one. And then there's a lot of books. April Dunford, like obviously awesome, is like kind of the Bible of like product marketing and messaging and positioning. So that's a really good one. But I'll just put like a little shameless plug too. I actually worked with Leland to kind of put together like a little list and resources of if you're like kind of new to marketing, like here's a bunch of books, here's a bunch of podcasts that recommend that kind of cover a lot of things, but include pretty much everything that Arthur and Laura mentioned there. So I just dropped that in the chat. It's not scientific, it's not exhaustive, but a good resource for folks to get started if they're looking for a couple newsletters to sign up for or books to kind of get started in the world of marketing.
Love it. Yeah, thanks for putting that together and dropping those in there. All right. Just last question. We'll have each person answer this. And then we'll open up to questions from the audience if there's any. If not, we can end. But curious what everybody's final tip is. I think just looking at the chat, most people are pretty early stage. So just like looking for their first job, recent grad type profile. So for that profile, what's your tip for standing out and getting started? I'll start with Laura.
I mentioned tying, your contributions to the, business outcomes, but I think also something that was mentioned earlier in this panel is just like stepping into the role and already coming with some ideas on how you can impact the organization, right? I think it's important to do an analysis on, where your skills are and where the company needs help, where, you can advance the conversation early and make an impression on that interviewer.
Awesome. Arthur, you want to go next?
Yeah, I would say really figure out what's your personal brand, what's that story that you want to tell. I know we kind of talked about that, but I think that's so important, and it's something I probably didn't do when I was applying for my first marketing roles. Is really figure out like what are you interested in? Where can you drive the most impact? What from your past experience, and even if you don't have direct career experience, maybe it's projects you did in undergrad or internships you did, what from that can you highlight that's going to really be relevant and connect to the specific role that you're interested in? And then really for, again, kind of touching on the networking piece, like come prepared to networking conversations with knowing exactly what you want to get out of them, really be targeted with your networking, and make sure that you have this really strong narrative about why you're interested in a specific part of marketing, or how are you going to contribute to the organization, and kind of have that holistic narrative really set in stone, so that you can really talk about your personal brand in a very impactful way.
Awesome. And then Will, take us home.
Yeah, I mean, both Lauren and Arthur, did a great job there. I would just kind of, echo really what Arthur said is, before sending another application in, like, take a step back and think about, like, what is my story to tell? And am I telling it in a really succinct, helpful way? So, once you feel good about that story that you're telling, that makes networking, that makes interviewing so much easier, because you're more targeted and you're more thoughtful about, hey, I know that I really want to be a product marketer in healthcare, right? Or a content marketer for an early stage company. That just makes, your resume a little bit tighter. It makes your whole story a little bit tighter. So I'd say, like, take that step back to do that self-reflection, which is, like, hard and not always, like, fun, but ask those questions. And I think it's that work up front makes the rest of the process so much easier and so much more efficient.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, like, know too, whatever you choose doesn't have to be your, like, role forever. Like, things will change. You're not going to get perfect, but, like, put a stake in the ground and create a story around it. Awesome. Love it. Well, final word. Thank you so much. Please put some love in the chat for our panelists that are awesome and doing this for free to just help early marketers and people that want to break into the field. Thank you so much for all the time and wisdom. And again, you can work with each of them. Their links are in the chat, but I personally worked with some of them. I did practice mock interviews with Arthur, and it was amazing. Definitely helped me. I know for a fact land a role, and so I highly recommend grabbing time with them, doing an intro call, and seeing how they can help you on your journey. And then also, if you want to talk to the Leland team to help you figure out who's the best coach for you, here's a link to do that here. And then, yeah, just wanted to spend last few minutes on, if anybody has any questions in the chat, feel free to drop those. And then we'll answer a few and then be done. So I think I see one. So Esther asked, do you think getting any certifications would help with the job hunting and marketing? And if so, which ones would you guys recommend? Anybody have strong thoughts on that?
I'd say, like, one that comes to mind that's, like, a good base one that's free, which is great, is, like, Google Analytics. Like, getting certified in Google Analytics is a really good one that's going to help pretty much with any marketing role. And then I know it's kind of a lame answer, but it probably does depend a little bit on what role you want to go down. If you want to get, more product marketing, then there probably are maybe some certifications, but I would hesitate to, like, go spend 6 months and $5,000 on getting a certification. I think there's enough between, like, free courses and trainings out there that can kind of get you in a good spot. But, like, Google Analytics is at least a good one to start with, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Solid.
Another one I would add, and this is kind of specific if you're interested in the social, like, paid social space, is Meta has a something called Blueprint, which I got certified in a couple of areas around, like, creative strategy and running ads on Meta. And so these are all free trainings and certifications that you can get. And so they're great ways to learn about a specific platform and kind of how to really go deep into paid social if you're interested in that space.
Perfect. Awesome. And then I had another question. Any tips for junior marketing to be successful in a new role? So I assume this is like, you have the job, you're new in the job. What can you do to kind of stand out and be successful in it? I'll just open it up to the group if anybody wants to go.
Well, I guess if you're a generalist, it is, get as much exposure to different areas of marketing as you can, and be proactive in pursuing different projects and opportunities within your company. Obviously, those opportunities will vary depending on the culture of your company and your capabilities too, but look at this role as a learning opportunity to learn new things, learn from your colleagues, and understand, like, what you can do to make an impact on your team and on your organization too.
Another thing I'd add is just get close with the sales team, right? Like, really become an ally with sales. Like, you really want to kind of establish a strong relationship. So whether that's, a business development team or a sales leader, just understand, like, what their pain points are and like think through how marketing can help. Now, again, you want to be careful of not then just going and running and doing anything that the sales team does. But I think, understanding and finding that, you guys are on the same team and like achieving the same goals. How can my skill sets help the sales team and understand that and just kind of create a little bit of that empathy and compassion there. So that's always something I think is a good, for a marketer at any stage, but, especially juniors to like understand what the sales team is working on, their pain points, and how marketing can be a support with that.
Yeah, that's a great one, especially with B2B. Like when I first joined my last startup, I like went and sat by the sales team sometimes, just listen to their calls and what they were talking about. Cool. Any other thoughts on being successful as a kind of a new person on the team, maybe? All right. Any other last questions too, in the chat? If not, then awesome. Well, thank you guys again so much for the time. Thank you for everybody for joining. I feel like I learned a lot in this session, and yeah, again, feel free to grab time with them, check out their profiles, and if not, have a good rest of your evening and happy holidays.
Thanks so much.
Thank you all.